This is unfamiliar territory. Oh, it's been too long. It's been too long. Is what I would say if I didn't record one just a minute ago. What's up, y'all? It's all here. Welcome back to the story mode. So, at the time of this recording, the Sonic Racing Crossworlds beta has indeed come to an end. Oh no! Oh no! That's so sad. I'm so upset. I'm sick to my stomach. But the memories are there. They're fresh. And they were a great time. Until the last hour, when I kept trying to play, and it wouldn't let me stay in a game. Every time a race started up, I would get kicked out. And I would be so confused as to why, only to find out that my internet was messed up. I got it fixed too late, and now it's over. It's done. Phenomenal. So, how did we feel about the Sonic Racing Crossworlds beta? Because me personally, I don't think it's much of a mystery that I was a little bit on the addicted side. That game was so much fun. Much more fun than the initial beta. Even the closed beta, right? And there's a good reason for that, right? Obviously, I've taken the time to list out my likes and my dislikes in regards to the most recent open beta for Sonic Racing Crossworlds. So we're going to go ahead and dive immediately into that. Because I'm a yapper, and I don't know how long this is going to take. So we're going to go ahead and just jump right into that. First off, clearly, we start with the likes. First and foremost, this game feels a little bit better. Maybe it's my imagination, but it definitely feels a little bit better than it did during the initial closed beta. Things feel a little bit tighter, controls feel a little bit more responsive, movement feels really, really good. Even when there's a lot of things going on the screen, all of your tricks and things like that feel absolutely incredible, and I'm super happy that's the case. You know what I mean? Especially in a racing game, you need to have good and tight controls so that, you actually feel good when you're racing. You want to feel at the very least that everything that you're doing on that screen, you want to feel like your character's responding. And in this case, I felt like I never really had an actual problem with the controls on land for the most part. We'll talk more about it. We'll get to, the more, unpolished part of things, you know what I mean? But for the most part, controls did feel very good and responsive, and I definitely had a great time, and I enjoyed that thoroughly. Okay, so I'm very happy that that's how things came to be, right? Second, game looks pretty damn good. All of these different stages and areas, especially the new ones that they added, and just all the just general visual elements look very pretty. Okay, I'm astounded by how good this game looks. You go into the different areas, like casinos, you're going to all the different locales from different Sonic areas. You're going to Apatos, and it looks like it was ripped right out of Unleashed type situation. You know what I mean? It's such a good looking game, and I'm very, very happy about that. Of course, you're going so fast that there are times where you don't really get the chance to appreciate it. But from what I remember, and my first time going through Apatos, I remember thinking like, wow, like they cooked on this stage. I think it looks really good. It's nice, and I'm super happy with the designs and everything like that, especially for the new stages, old and new alike. It always looked pretty damn good, but seeing more stages and things like that, more characters, more customization, it definitely looks really, really good, and I think I can appreciate that much more than I could beforehand. So I'm really, really happy with the way that turned out as well. Kind of jumping around here, it seems like, but I'm just gonna go in order of what I have listed here. The cast variety. Holy crap. Right? I'm so glad that they actually went out of their way to add characters, like Cream and Cheese, like Omega and stuff like that, but specifically characters like the Babylon Rogues, and Joker, and characters that we have yet to see. Even, you know what I mean? I'm so happy that we have a very, very solid cast, Sonic characters, that's great. We have a good cast of Sonic characters. Even outside of that, that is absolutely absurd. What do you mean? We're gonna be playing as Pac-Man, as Steve, as SpongeBob, Patrick, Aang, Korra, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? And we haven't even gotten all that. We have all the Sonic characters so far, and we have Joker. Or we had Joker in this beta, because we did have the event. And that was fun. That was really, really cool. I like the cast variety, and I love the fact that each character individually offers a lot of different stats and specs, so that you really do need to, pick who you're comfortable with, Maybe you like having a handling situation that's much better most of the time. So maybe you want to pick a character like Amy, like Cream and Cheese. I believe Joker is a handling type. I have to go back and look. But, you know, it's good to have options of variety like that, because you never know, you know, what kind of race that you're going to end up in. And you might want to have a situation in which you are using, or you might end up in a situation where you want to use a handling type character, or a speed type character, or a power type character. You know what I mean? And so there's a lot of variety and options for you to choose from throughout the cast of characters alone, right? But that's not even the best part about it. The customization in of itself, very, very good. I'm very, very happy with it. I was already very pleased with it when we saw, you know, the first glimpse of it in the original closed beta. You know, utilizing that to really change up the stats of each of your cars, you know, and just kind of measuring that up to whatever character you're using so you can get the most optimal output is so much fun, right? On top of that, the fact that in this one we had extreme gear, game changer, bro, because there really is a vast difference between the cars and between the extreme gears, to an extent that I can't even begin to explain how much I appreciate the fact that they brought extreme gears back to this goddamn series, man. I'm so insanely happy about that. I literally, for most of the time, I used Jet, and I used a very specific extreme gear build. I'd have to take a look at what I edited together. I thought it was sick. You know what I mean? I'm sure I have plenty of gameplay of it somewhere. You'll definitely see it. You know, Jet on the black extreme gear. That sucker was going crazy, dog. But because of that, the customization is actually really, really solid. You know, all of the different stats and things like that that you can manipulate piece by piece, brick by brick on every single car, every single extreme gear. It's so cool, right? I really appreciate that. I really hope that we get a lot more options down the line. I'm sure we will. You know, they had to keep it as limited as possible and simple as possible for the sake of the beta, which is totally fine, but I really do hope that we get to see a lot more in the customization aspect of Sonic Racing Crossworlds for extreme gear, for the cars, and all these different designs that they could possibly come up with for you to design with, right? And edit up your characters. But on top of that, obviously, you have so many different ways to customize your gear, your general, I can't think of the word, editor soul, put it up. A situation in which you can put on different badges, or whatever they're called. I played this game for like 20 hours or something. I can't remember. That's crazy. But equipables to make it so that you are capable of different things, and like that brings such a whole new level of strategy. Again, this was present during the closed beta, but I didn't really get to talk about it as much as I would have liked to in that, right? But in this case, you know, they really went all out to showcase, you know, what all of these different equipables are capable of, especially with the preset ones that we got our hands on during the Joker event. They made sure to give us preset equipables that you could use during the festival, and you could see the benefit of utilizing certain things, right? I absolutely adore that they went out of their way to showcase that. You have equipables that makes it so that you can steal other players' coins. You have equipables that make it so that you could spin around in a circle every time you drift so that nobody can get too close to you, and you can spin them out and hit them. You have equipables that make it so that you can get bigger items, or very specific items, items that give you more defense, items that make it so that you can get items right at the beginning of the race, like a warp coin and stuff like that. There's so many absolutely insane options for you to kit yourself out with. And, you know, depending on what kind of character you're running, you might have specific equipables for that. I would love to see a situation in, you know, Endgame where we do have presets. Things, or, well, we already have presets, but, you know, on specific characters and on specific gears, we could have certain presets for those, right? But I guess, you know, it's already there. So, you know, that's fine. But I love that. I love that that's a thing, and I'm super happy with that outcome. Right, they did a very good job with the equipables, and they were very diverse with it. They made sure to pay attention to every little detail, every little aspect, you know, making it so that you could have some that make you do tricks faster, or, you know, maybe drifting is a little easier. Maybe you get your boosts a little faster from drifting. They thought of every little thing and really kept track of that, and I really, really appreciate that. It made for a really, really good time, in my personal opinion. And lastly, the rewards are nice. It's nice to feel like I'm actually getting rewarded with the Dompa tickets. You know, you're actually going out, you're getting customizables, you're getting decals. I'm sure eventually when we do get our hands on the full game, we'll have access to, you know, a wider range of customizables for our gears and stuff like that, and we can use those Dompa tickets to purchase more, you know, customizable aspects for our extreme gear, for our karts and things like that. And I'm super, super excited for that, because man, it feels very nice to actually get rewarded for racing. Like, I actually feel like I'm, even I'm having plenty of fun with the game in of itself, don't get me wrong, but it is nice to know that even if I'm not doing the greatest, I'm still working towards something. I'm still building my arsenal in some way, shape, or form so that I can buy more equipables, so that I can buy more extreme gear and, more karts and stuff like that, or extreme gear and kart parts specifically. And during the Joker event, it was really, really nice to actually get rewards for, like, all of that going on, getting all of the little, the decals, the titles, the stickers. Like, it was so sick. Like, I love that. I love that. That makes me look forward to events too, I'm very much excited for even like the Miku event or the Steve event or the SpongeBob event. What kind of titles are we going to get? What kind of unlockables are we going to earn out of that? I'm really excited to see what we get out of that. This little test here for the festival, it was a good time. This may be controversial, I don't know, because so far I've seen that a lot of people, maybe it's a situation in which so many people already like quickly ran through the event and got all of the rewards damn near instantly, that they immediately gotten sick of it and were just like, okay, I want to go back to World Race. Like, why am I locked into this? Don't get me wrong, that was a problem. We'll talk more about it. But I did, like, I took my time with it, I was on when I could be and off when I couldn't play, you know what I mean? So I took my time getting the rewards, and, it was definitely a good time. I was definitely a little more focused on, all the unique mechanics that they presented in the situation, who could get the most rings out of, each of these teams, who could get the most taps on your teammates so that you guys can all get proper boosts and stuff like that. Who's doing the most air tricks, making sure that you're equipping all of the right badges or equipables so that you can do more tricks, gain more coins, and stuff like that, or whatever you needed to do to catch up to your teammates. I haven't played the other Sonic racing games. I was way too petty with them because they weren't Sonic Riders, but because this one has extreme gear, I'm definitely a little more biased. But from what I've heard and from what I have seen of the other Team Sonic racing games, Team Sonic Racing was its own thing. Of the other Sonic Racing games, they didn't have mechanics like this, and I think it's unique, Definitely could use some touch-ups in the future. Hopefully, we don't do just this for every single event. That would get kind of old really fast. I do hope that for certain events, they at least come up with, like, new, more fun mechanics. But at the same time, for what they came up with, for what we had for this specific festival, solid. You don't really see team games that do it like this, I appreciate what they were working with, and, I think it's neat. I'm really happy with the way that came out. So, overall, I think it's a good time. I think the rewards are nice, and I can't wait to actually get my hands on the full game and actually mark my full rank. I'm getting up to Legend as soon as I possibly can, and I want to get as many Donpa tickets as I can so that I can upgrade everything in my arsenal as soon as humanly possible. So, I'm looking forward to that grind, Now, naturally, of course, we do need to flip it over to the other side and talk about my dislikes. First and foremost, I'm going to be completely honest. You could call it a skill issue. I don't care. The flying and the swimming mechanics don't feel good. They don't feel that good still, right? I mean, they're not the worst thing in the world, of course. They're manageable and stuff like that. I've learned to control them a little bit better. Obviously with the water, you're supposed to be constantly jumping so that you can get a better handle on it. But as soon as you have, like, a monstrous turn in the water, it's, the drifting situation there is not great, right? When you're drifting on land, it feels great, it feels perfect. When you're trying to drift in the water, it doesn't feel like it's doing what you need it to do. So you have to drift, like, insanely early instead of trying to get as many jump shots or jump tricks in as you can. And that feels like it's kind of getting in the way a little bit, you know what I mean? Because it makes it more likely for me to crash into a wall if I try to get my jumps in. And if I don't, then I'm missing out on speed. And it feels like, everybody's passing me if they're doing it a lot earlier than I am. So, I call it swimming. That's funny. The racing on top of water situation, whatever that you want to call that. And then the aerial situation where you are constantly, you obviously go off a specific ramp that has like a flight logo, and you are flying through the air, and you can, like, drift in air. So you're, like, kind of stopping to drift, and then you jet off in another direction really quickly. Good idea in practice, definitely needs a little bit more tightening on the controls, because sometimes it does feel like it's a little bit wonky. I feel like it's not as responsive as it could be, and I feel like I'm getting more out of it, or at least I'm doing a little bit better if I just don't even use the drifting mechanics in midair. I feel like every time I've tried to speed up in midair, it feels like I'm slowing down more often than not. I feel like it's more of a hindrance than anything. You know, there are some times where it did help and it did work, especially the better I got at it. But for the most part, even near the end there, it felt like I was hindering myself by doing that more. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I just got to play with it a little more when the final game comes out. But from what I felt, it just didn't really feel like those mechanics were completely pristine just yet. But that could just be a me thing. And that's fine if it is, you know. We'll see what happens when, you know, everybody's talking about the game. We'll see what happens. Next thing, there are definitely some maps that are a little too tight for 12 racers. You know what I mean? The thing about this game is that you are constantly going to be in a crab bucket situation. That's what we like to call it, where they do their best, right, to give you items and situations where even if you're in last place, you have a chance to really turn it around, catch up with obviously like the drill, the king wisp or whatever that's called, the triple wisp, or you like have a million dashes. You know what I mean? They give you situations in which you can catch up. And because of that, you know, we have a little bit of a situation in which a lot of these items can be a little bit unbalanced sometimes. Especially, you know, when you're in first place and you're not getting any good defense items or anything like that, you know, you're still getting rocket fists in like first or second place, and all the time it's just like, okay, where's my defense items? Where's my spinning? You know what I mean? I feel like we definitely could use some more items in that department. And it definitely doesn't help when we're in a situation in which we're in super tight areas like Apatos like, it's so tight. You know what I mean? Maybe if they were to expand it just a little bit, just open up the streets a smidge. You know, like, I don't know. I feel like it's so easy for everybody. I mean, you guys have seen the clips, right? That first little patch on Apatos, there's no way they don't patch this in the final game. But they have a situation in which if you have the truck boost right off rip, you are mowing down everybody frame one. Frame one in Apatos. Every single person in front of you, if you start in last and you have that, you win that first lap at least. You are mowing everybody down. It's like, bro, that is cheat code galore. Now, of course, because the randomizing of the stages, you know, it's not guaranteed that you'll have a situation like that every single time, but I think it happened often enough during the beta because Apatos was so unfamiliar to people as a stage, because they wanted to try it so bad, that people were picking it often enough in which people could just monster truck right through everybody and just flatten everybody. It was ridiculous, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, maybe some of these items need a little bit of a rework, or maybe some of the map situations need a little bit of a rework, I don't know. At least Apatos definitely could be wider, you know what I mean? But it doesn't stay, like, tight-knit like that the entire time, so I don't know. They probably won't, they probably won't touch up on it very much, but we'll have to see what happens with that. Now for more of the, you know, whatever, you know, it is what it is, but it sucks that it is this way. The guest characters, Joker not having a voice at all. Insanely ridiculous, right? And the crazy part about that is the fact that Persona is owned by Sega, so they could easily get the rights to either, at the very least, get voice clips from Persona 5 for Joker, or even just grab Xander to do voice work for Joker. Are we crazy? Why are we not? What are we doing? Like, it can't possibly be that much money to get Xander back for this role to do voice work. I'm sure he would gladly do it, right? And it's situations like that across the board, because obviously we've seen the clips of every single character so far that isn't a main Sonic character, or like a standard Sonic character that was already, you know, implemented into the game, not having any voice clips. We don't have any for Ichiban, we don't have any for Joker. Quiet down over there, yeah? We don't have any for SpongeBob or Patrick. We don't have any for Mega Man, to my understanding. And so, you know, that doesn't really inspire much hope to have any voice clips for any of the characters moving forward, which is absolutely insane because, you know, it feels like the character is almost incomplete in a way. Like, yeah, the character is there visually, but them not having a voice, it feels it feels soulless. Is that too dramatic to say that they feel a little soulless when they don't have their voice on them? It's strange to me, and I'm sure a lot of people feel that same way. So hopefully at the very least down the line, maybe they can implement some voices. Maybe they're still working on it. I don't know, but I don't know. Based on what we have seen with the game, it's pretty much near completion and prepping for release in this month. So I'm not going to hold my breath and expect them to put out an update or anything like that actually gives us voices for these characters. You know what I mean? I mean, granted, I guess Tom Kenny would be pretty expensive, but still, like, come on now. Now, this one, I'm sure this isn't going to be a thing going forward. I'm sure that they only did this because it was the beta. But the situation in which we couldn't go back to traditional races after we got all of the rewards from the festival was a little annoying, right? Because I did complete the festival. I'm like, okay, sick. I didn't realize at the time that I could not go back to regular races. So I'm like, oh. I mean, yeah, I could earn more Dompa tickets, but at the same time, that's kind of pointless because I already know that most of what I have or everything that I have here isn't going to transfer over. I'm going to have to re-unlock all of it anyways. So there's really no point in me continuing to do the festival, which meant that most of that Sunday, I wasn't playing the game because I was just kind of done with the festival. You know what I mean? So there was really nothing I could do, and that kind of sucked. So I hope that it's not a situation going forward in which when the festival happens, you can only do the festival. Again, I'm sure that won't be the case. They just needed to test it out because it was the beta. They needed to make sure that festivals in this scenario would be able to work so that, you know, going forward, we don't have problems, right? Again, you got to remember the entire point of a beta is for it to be a stress test. And this is me talking to me too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to just like solely explain it to you, but this needed to be a stress test. This needed to happen so that they could test out whether or not going forward festivals of this caliber would be able to work with, you know, thousands of people. You know what I mean? Don't even know how many people were participating in this game, by the way. Couldn't even begin to guess. But regardless, I really hope going forward that that's not a thing, because I didn't like the fact that I got kind of completely locked out of world races and I couldn't, you know, get my rank up more, you know? That sucks. And I didn't really have a lot of time like I would have to play, so I didn't, you know, get the chance to get as high as I would have wanted to. Like what was I, B minus or B plus or whatever? I don't even know. I was in the B somewhere. That sucks. So, I don't know. But regardless, hopefully that's not a permanent mandatory thing. And lastly, this one's stupid and goofy. Why are we still working with the 6? Why do we have these characters? Zavik, the other I don't even care about the other 4. I played Lost World one time, for the record. None of those characters stood out or had any interesting lore or dialogue. They were just kind of around, and they weren't interesting characters whatsoever. And yet, they consistently show up in, like, so many of these different Sonic games. They're at the very least mentioned. And it's like, why? Like, nobody liked these guys? Why are they so persistent in bringing these characters back? Like, unless you're gonna remake Lost World from the ground up or something like that and present that to us at a later date, there is no reason in trying to get us to enjoy these characters, because they're not good characters. I'm sorry. Their designs are strange. You know what I mean? It's just like a mess of colors. I don't know. I'm just not attached to these characters at all, and I will never understand why they keep bringing them back. It's cool to have a filled out roster, I guess, but I wouldn't be tripping if they didn't show back up. That's all I'm saying. But with that being said, I have given my piece on Sonic Racing Crossworlds Beta. Long and short of it is, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have another racing game that I can invest myself into for probably if I'm completely honest, longer possible period of time than Mario Kart World, given what it has to offer. You know what I mean? Again, potentially, that could definitely be squandered. I could definitely be talking out of my ass. We don't know yet because the game isn't fully out yet. So we don't know how repetitive it's actually going to feel by the time, you know, we've ran through it in a month. You know what I mean? So we'll have to see what happens. But I can definitely tell from the beta that it has a lot of potential, and I had so much fun with it that I was downright addicted and, you know, itching to play whenever I could, you know what I mean? Even in the festival, you know, I definitely played a little more after I had gotten all my initial rewards, but then I was just like, okay, I don't want to just keep earning all these Dompa tickets for them to go nowhere. I want to get my rank up, so I just had to hold off a little bit, you know? I didn't want to burn myself out on the game, so I'm excited. I'm really, really excited for Sonic Racing Crossworlds at the end of this month. That's day one cop, and I'm going to be on that sucker as much as humanly possible. And depending on the streaming situation, I don't know, we might be able to get something going. I don't know if anybody's interested in that, but we'll see what happens. So, with that being said, I'm passing the mic over to you guys, and I want you guys to tell me everything that you're thinking in the comment section below. Do you agree that the Sonic Racing Crossworlds beta was generally a success? It was a very good time. You had a lot of fun with it. You were downright addicted. You were playing it as much as humanly possible. You wanted to get as much out of the extreme gear and KART and Dompa tickets and just all the general races that you possibly could. Or are you on the opposing side? You don't think that this is a good kart racer. You're not interested in this at all. You don't really care for it. And it's just not your cup of tea. It doesn't look good to you. Tell me everything you're thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I am always going to be down there with you guys. But with that, yeah, it does appear to be skedaddle o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and do just that. I'd like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I'm gone. So thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor, taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!